Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Grim the Lord of Salt here with another episode of Let's Play WWF Royal Rumble from 1993. Last time we played the Genesis version. This time we're playing the Super Nintendo version. So what that means is a different roster. And going over that real quick. Again, from before we've got Bret Hart, Crush, Randy Savage, Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, Lex Luger, and The Undertaker. Who we have instead of the others is Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, Tatanka, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and Yokozuna, the big man himself. So, yeah, slightly different roster, but we'll go in and do the Royal Rumble. And we'll pick a different character, one of the exclusive ones to this version. From Pembroke, North Carolina, standing 5'11", weighing 255 pounds, with a finishing move, the reverse slam, Tatanka. Get to listen to a 16-bit rendition of his theme song. Classic stuff, guys. Classic stuff. Tatanka did get a big push back when he debuted. Unfortunately, they didn't use him a whole lot. But we're doing the Royal Rumble mode, so we'll see the full roster here. The version of him that's in this version of the game. Of course, you still got everything else is pretty much identical. Vince McMahon and Mr. Perfect joining in now. Another new character. But Vince McMahon and Bobby Heenan calling it. Undertaker joining in now. So it's getting busy. Macho Man's in on the action. They don't waste any time coming to the ring. And Bret Hart gives us a full ring of 6 guys. And Razor Ramon already eliminated somebody. But Tatanka, me, is holding out. So, yeah. So far, so good. There's 6 guys. I thought I saw someone get eliminated, but I must not have. Must have been mistaken, because they're all still there. Yeah, I probably just saw them throw them into the ropes. Okay. So anyways, yeah. Hope you guys enjoy the series so far. I didn't have the Super Nintendo version as a kid. I didn't have a Super Nintendo. But it's interesting to play now, of course, for the different roster. It'd be fun if somebody made a ROM hack that had the rosters from both games put together. I don't know if any of that ever happened. Probably not even so much worth exploring now, because wrestling games have gotten so much better. But these were fun games to play back in the day. We didn't have a whole lot of choices in the West. You know, this was, of course, a successor to Super WrestleMania and the old WrestleMania trilogy on the NES. So it's a lot better than those. It's a lot better than King of the Ring, which came out on NES earlier this year, you know, so still not as good, of course, as the old arcade wrestling games, Superstars and WrestleFest. But for wrestling at home, it was a big improvement visually in every aspect. You got voices now, you can hear them. It's only like 2 grunts used for the whole roster, but it works. It's better than nothing. Good stomping and slamming sounds, I always felt. And of course, everyone's got their signature moves now, and significantly more moves they can do in general. There's also some brawling moves they can use. Kanoa Crush joining, and he just eliminated Undertaker. Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid's in on it. Shawn and Bret again. The rivalry begins, guys. Bret just eliminated the Macho Man there. And the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, is in. Another Super Nintendo exclusive. Yeah, Flair had just joined the WWF. They wanted him, from what I remember, they wanted him to drop the belt to Luger. Luger was being pushed as the new big guy in WCW by the TV executives that were in charge of it at that point. And Flair had already said he would drop the belt to Sting and nobody else, so he took the belt with him. Started a feud with Hulk Hogan in the WWF, which The Undertaker was tied into. Yokozuna, another exclusive. So there were 2 belts, and they were building up to a WrestleMania like champion versus champion thing, Hogan versus Flair, but it didn't happen. Hard to say if it's because Hogan was retiring again, or if it's because Flair wanted to leave, because Flair did one out during his feud with Savage. I guess he decided he just wanted to go home. So the rest would have been the WrestleMania 9 match, was it? Or no, 8. I think 8 would have been the 2 of them against each other, and it wound up instead being other stuff. And of course, the steroid scandal hit. That's why Ultimate Warrior didn't make it. And Hogan was also out for similar reasons. He's in the Genesis version still, but they put Flair in this one instead. So you can't do Flair versus Hogan, which is something. But I guess like the WWF, it just couldn't happen. But yeah, a lot of the older guys were leaving. Guys like Brett and Shawn were going to be taking over. Luger didn't last too long. He got a big push as a heel, as a face. He did the All-American thing. He did a big tour. Ted DiBiase was on his way out. He had a long career starting with the Territories. He would continue as a manager for a while. But this was around the time that his active career was ending. He was part of the Tag Team Money Incorporated with IRS, or R. Shyster, who I don't think is in this version. I think he's a Genesis only, which means, again, another tag team that is split up. Yeah, he's Genesis exclusive, so you can't do the IRS team. The Money Incorporated. That's weird. Yokozuna got eliminated by us. Tatanka, the Native. Shawn Michaels hanging in there. Crush has been in for a long time. Crush, of course, Demolition had just been broken up. I think Crush might have been injured because he was out for a while. So they repackaged Smash as the Demolition Man. And Crush came back as a, being from Konoha with this kind of surfer guy, Konoha Crush gimmick, turning him face. Didn't last too long. Eventually he went back to his old ways. And now it's just down to the three of us. Tatanka, Ted DiBiase, and the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Can we toss him? Oof, body slam. Now, if it's glowing green, the one credit I'll give the Super Nintendo version, the tug of war grapple gauge is flashing green. That means that they're ready for a finisher to be eliminated. So since there's no health bar in Royal Rumble mode, it's kind of nice to have that indicator so you know that they're ready for whether you want to hit them with the finisher or if you want to just toss them. It's up to you. And I probably should have hit him with the finisher. I couldn't get it to work, so I'll end up getting in position and just trying to toss him out. He's getting a few hits in on us because I was getting cocky, trying to build up to that finishing move. And it didn't work out. Vertical suplex, and now he's in position. And just a toss. Tatanka, the Royal Rumble champion. And here comes Howard Finkel, raising our hand in victory. There you have it. Number 1 Tatanka, the Rumble champion. Joined at the start, eliminated Razor Ramon, Yokozuna, Crush, the Narcissist, Shawn Michaels, and last but not least, Ted DiBiase. A little longer than the other Royal Rumble, but you got to see all the wrestlers in there so you could see how different the lineup was in comparison. So now it's time to do the single tournament. Last time we did the tag tournament. It's the Reunited Death Express. This time we'll be doing it single. Brawls are done with no referee. There's no pinfall. You can use weapons. You can use the choke and eye rake moves as much as you like. And you win by knockout. So this time we'll be playing as, from Charlotte, North Carolina, standing at 5'11", weighing 239 pounds. Finishing move, the figure 4 leg lock, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. The real world's champion. Was managed for a while by Mr. Perfect. Of course, he wanted to negotiate to leave, to go back home, and he'll be facing Tatanka first. And in order to agree to get let out of his contract early, he had to agree to put over Mr. Perfect on his way out so that they had someone to replace Flair with, being the top heel of the company when he was there. So, yeah, we never got to see our Hogan versus Flair, champion versus champion thing. They would renew their feud when Hogan eventually went to WCW, which would be about a year after this. Yeah, we're playing against the computer, which is crazy difficult, as you guys will see as it goes along. You cannot change difficulty for tournament mode, but tournament is basically the single player mode, like, you can have all the exhibition matches you want, which as a fan is nice when you got this roster and you're a fan of the era or whatever, you just want to play as wrestlers. You're okay with that. There's not a whole lot of modes, but you got normal, tag team, and brawl, and of course the Royal Rumble. And as a wrestling fan at the time, it got me over just fine. But tournament mode is kind of where it kills it. It's where the belt is. It's the only way to win the championship is. You can do it for the tag or single mode for the world title. Beat him up on the outside for a while here. See if we can get a chair shot on him. Couldn't figure out how to grab it, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, the tournament mode kind of sucks. It's because of the grappling system. You'll see it, but eventually the grappling system basically becomes pointless. There we apply the figure 4 leg lock finisher. No submission wins in this game, but you know, take their health down and go for the pin. And Ric Flair is the winner of the first round of the tournament. Here comes Howard Finkel. Raise our hand in victory. And up next, we're against Crush in round 2. Now, there's going to be one more game from this year that we'll be covering, that will be coming up soon. That is WWF Rage in the Cage, exclusive to the Sega CD back in the day. We'll play through that, and that will wrap up the 93 pay-per-view match, I should say pay-per-view games. It started with King of the Ring on NES, the 2 versions of Royal Rumble, and of course Rage in the Cage itself. Next up, which will be WWF Raw, which we'll be playing on the 32X version, sorry. And after that, we'll be switching over to the Mortal Kombat area, they call it, for the wrestling game. But WrestleMania, we'll be going back to the arcades for WrestleMania, the arcade game, and wrapping it up with the sequel to that. There Goes the Neighborhood, in your house. So that's the future of the playlist over the next few days. You guys should be seeing those videos come out. After that, we'll be staying with Sculptured Software. We've been following them all this time. Actually, I'll probably do a couple 2D Attitude Era games first. There's WWF Attitude for the Game Boy Color and Road to WrestleMania for the Game Boy Advance. Play through those as well, kind of wrapping up the 2D WWF era. And we'll go from there. We'll start with Created Wrestlers again in WWF Attitude for PlayStation when we play that one. So you guys can look forward to that down the road. That's going to be a bigger project. It's going to take a few weeks to play through because we're going to do the career mode. And once again, crushes down, figure 4 leg lock for the win. No submission, unfortunately, but yeah, there's no way he's going to kick out. At least Flair's leg lock, good part of it is we don't have to win a grapple for it. So if we were using Undertaker or Papa Shango, or I don't think Shango's in this one, but you know, anyone who does it from a grapple, you have to win the grapple. So yeah, like Scott Hall, the Razor's Edge, you have to win the grapple, and at this point it's getting harder to win grapples, whether you initiate them or not, whether they're low on health or not, whether you punch them first or not. It just keeps getting harder. So I keep tossing them to the outside and relying on the cheese moves, you know, the dirty moves, eye gouging and choke, and get as much out of them as I can. Of course, running into the apron like a nut. We're up to a 5 count, so I'm starting to worry a little bit. But vertical suplex to the outside. No padding in this game on the outside. Very rough. Thought I'd try to knock out the ref, but didn't work. We're still winning grapples, so the game, it hasn't ramped up the difficulty too much on us yet, but it is coming, guys. Don't worry. Plan was to do like a running leg drop thing, but he got up on me. You can't climb the bottom turnbuckles. It's weird, but yeah, it's a thing. I did his work for him. I guess you could call that a Flair flop, right? Running myself into the... because I hit the wrong button. The controls are mostly the same as the Genesis counterpart, of course, but the controller layout's different, so you do have to get used to the differences when switching to the Super Nintendo version. Now we've already done enough damage, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Figure 4 leg lock for the win. Just gotta pin him, and he's done. 2, 3. Ric Flair wins again, one step closer to that world title, that WWF Heavyweight Championship. Crowd sounds are nice. The previous 8-bit games, usually, if they had any sound, it was a crowd sound. Here's the Macho Man, the next round. Interesting pattern tights they got on Macho. Doing my Flair flop right from the beginning there. Totally on purpose, guys. I really meant to do that. Okay, grapples are going to get tougher now. We're just going to try and stack up the damage out here while we can before the count goes down. You only got a count of 10. Older games sometimes give you to a count of 20 because the counts would go much faster. But in this game, the counts are slower, like in real life, so you only get the 10 count. Savage and Flair, of course, had a huge feud at this time in professional wrestling in the WWF. Flair was world champion. He was had a bunch of pictures he had with Miss Elizabeth, arguing that Elizabeth was his girlfriend and was cheating on Macho, who was married at the time. Of course, this was mirroring that in real life. Macho and Miss Elizabeth wound up getting a divorce. So, after the story concluded, you know, Savage got even. He proved the photos were fakes. That it was Miss Elizabeth hanging out with Randy Savage instead, and he won the title at WrestleMania 9 from Ric Flair. Not 9, sorry, that was 8. That was WrestleMania 8. One of my favorite matches, honestly. I always liked Flair. Savage, both of these guys, honestly, again, people talk about their Mount Rushmores. You got to have Flair and Savage on there, I think. So they never had a bad match with anybody. They certainly didn't with each other. I was trying to lure him down there, but he wouldn't do it. Their WrestleMania matches were great. Every other match they had was great. Figure 4 leg lock, it's pretty much over. And, yeah. But 2 all-time greats. Randy Savage and Ric Flair. It's a shame WWF didn't want to run with these guys more. Again, I don't know if Flair left just because he just didn't want to be there or if there was booking issues. But you could have gotten years out of those guys easily. Especially with guys coming up like round 5 against Mr. Perfect. Like Bret and Shawn coming up. There would have been some really great matches there. This is another match that happened in real life, of course. Flair was on his way out, so he dropped the title to Curt Hennig. And supposedly, when Flair got back to WCW and Ole was still booking, Ole looks at him and goes, "What am I going to do with you now? You jobbed out to Curt Hennig. You're useless." So Flair didn't make much of a comeback in WCW there, unfortunately. Went from bad to worse for the Nature Boy. But Hennig had a good career, short as it was, in WWE. You know, he got up to the top and eventually, I think he's the one Bret Hart won the world title from. I remember correctly. So it would have been cool to see Bret Hart go up against Ric Flair. You know, sharpshooter versus figure 4. That would have been awesome. But we got Curt Hennig instead, and they still had a great match. Curt Hennig, another great, all-time great workers, great on the mic. Really fantastic wrestler. So, it was. People talk about, you know, the 93, 2, 3, 4 era, the early 90s is like the dark ages for WWE, like it was the worst of the worst. But you had these guys there, Flair, Hennig, Bret, and Shawn having some of the best matches of their careers when they were younger. I went for it, but he was too quick for me, guys. I had to roll back up. Yeah, these were great feuds. Not every match, of course, was out of the park, you know, but and we're getting to the point where I can't win grapples at all anymore, which is not good because it's gonna come down to just smacking the crap out of each other. But that's what the game pretty much becomes. The tug of war mechanic. I was debating whether even bothering with the finisher because he's already done. The tug of war mechanic, excuse me, kind of broken in this mode when you get to higher levels, or if you're just playing Expedition but on higher difficulty, because you basically just can't beat the computer unless you got a turbo control, and even then sometimes you can't. And Bret Hart, again, the dream match, would have been nice to have seen, but this is where the grappling system is going to start failing me, and we still have quite a few matches to get through here. So Bret was one of my favorites back then. Another Mount Rushmore guy for me. Never had a bad match with anybody. The thing about Bret behind the scenes, of course, was respect. You had to have, if you had his respect, then, you know, he was your friend for life, and he always took care of you. But if you disrespected him, there were times where his ego could get the better, and I think I think Bret Hart's career would have been better if his ego hadn't sometimes gotten in the way. And at the same time, of course, his biggest rival at that point was Shawn Michaels, who also had major attitude problems, as it were. But these guys were building the Attitude Era. You didn't know it at the time, and they don't get credit for it, which is a shame. But Bret was feuding besides with guys like Kurt Hennig and Roddy Piper, having great matches, his King of the Ring match with Razor Ramon and stuff like that. And of course that SummerSlam match where he dropped the Intercontinental belt to Bulldog. He had some toppers, but his feuds were all personal back then. So like his feud with Bulldog, it was his brother-in-law, so his family got involved in it, and then his feud with Owen that his family also got involved in. And it was an extension of the feud with Bulldog. All kinds of things were going on there. Jim Neidhart came back. But it was all great stuff because it was personal. It was more real, you know. It was still a work, of course, but as a fan, it felt real, and that's what kind of the Attitude Era comes from. Is it wasn't gimmick based, you know. It wasn't like the yesteryears of your circus type characters and superheroes going at it. Instead, it was like real life professional feuds bleeding in, you know. And even the feud with Shawn was like that as well, and everything about the Clique that was really just starting up in this era. I mean, you've got Razor Ramon's there, so you got Scott Hall, Kevin Nash wouldn't be far behind, you know, along with Sean Waltman and John Paul Levesque. Is it just Paul Levesque? I can't remember his real name. Yeah, we beat Bret Hart thanks to the figure 4, but it is getting to the point where grapples are pretty much just not a thing. Ric Flair against Shawn Michaels, another match that would have been great to see. It would have been great. Of course, it was Shawn who eventually retired Ric Flair officially in the WWF, I should say WWE many years later. Yeah, at this point you can see, like, I'm not even having a chance in the grapple tug of war. So it's basically just punches and kicks for me. That's all I can do, which is a shame. But it means that basically the system is broken. All I can do is kick and stomp, and even if I initiate the grapple, it doesn't matter. Computer instantly wins it right there. You know, there's no chance. I got lucky there, mashing buttons. Flair's already down to half health. This is not a good start, guys. Not a good start. We're just kicking and punching away, hoping for the best. Random pin. I think I meant to pick him up and just hit the wrong button. You see, I can't even win. Even if I initiate, I can't win. It doesn't matter. The computer's too good for me at this point. Which kills the grappling, which kills most of your moveset. All you got left are punches, kicks, and stomps. It's not nearly as fun. It's like it's turning into a boxing game, which isn't what you're in for, you know? So yeah, the grapple system really is terrible. Again, as long as you play exhibition and you can turn the difficulty down so you don't break your controller, or if you have a turbo controller, it's not as big a deal, but you shouldn't have to have those things. You do certainly have to have, well, the Super Nintendo controller is fine, but if you're playing the Genesis version, you gotta have that 6 buttons. If you don't have the 6 buttons, you're out of luck. Shawn kicks out. He's mostly done, so I just gotta land a few good hits here, make sure to take out the very last sliver of health, and then we go for a pin, and we're finally good. So this is what the next few matches will be. I think there's 10 matches. I don't think you have to fight everybody, but I think it's 10 matches to the belt. Round 8 against The Undertaker. This will be interesting. Flair and Undertaker did happen many years later when Flair came back after Vince bought WCW. It was actually, I think it was his first match back in action. Because, or maybe he wrestled with Vince first, I'm not sure. Because he came in, they did the brand split was the thing, right? That was when they did the first draft, SmackDown versus Raw. Vince took over for, I think, Raw. Or, I can't remember which one. I think he had SmackDown. I think Raw was Flair, right? If I remember right. But one got one, the other got the other. Because Flair, the storyline was that Flair got after the invasion angle. The thing is, the ownership was in dispute because of the invasion. Shane and Stephanie each had a quarter. Every McMahon had a quarter share of the ownership. Again, in story. So Linda and Vince had 25% each, and 25% for Shane, 25% for Stephanie. And the whole invasion part was, you know, Shane supposedly in story was the one that bought WCW, so he was going to do an invasion. Stephanie came in with ECW. They teamed up to take down Vince on the WWE. They did the whole invasion thing. A lot of people hated it. I liked it because as a fan, I was just fanboying out over all the new roster wrestlers, right? It was a great group to see. All these, even if they weren't the A-team, it was still great to see, you know, a lot of dream matches coming through. The angle itself was a pretty big botch, of course. But the fallout of that was when the Alliance lost. Shane and Stephanie sold their shares to Ric Flair. So it was 50-50 ownership, again in story, between Flair and McMahon. And that was what caused the brand split. And then Flair would have a feud with Vince, and eventually The Undertaker was like, look, I want a match with Flair. And it was like a dream for me. So he had a match with Flair, and that kind of started getting Flair back into his career. He started his WWF run. He eventually went on, of course, to join Evolution. Flair versus Yoko. Here, of course, Yokozuna was world champion at the time. On and off, of course. He won it the first time from Bret, and then lost it that very same day at the WrestleMania of this year to Hulk Hogan. And then he won it back at King of the Ring 93 from Hulk Hogan, a match you can recreate in WWE 2K25, the Bloodline mode, which is pretty cool. Yokozuna was legit. That guy, aside from not actually being, of course, a real sumo or even Japanese to begin with, he's Samoan, but talent-wise, he was legit. He could move, for as big as he was, the way he could move was insane. The speed, the agility, he really was a phenomenal performer in the ring. WWE, he did have issues with the weight, though, because he just kept gaining weight over time. Vince could not get him to lose any of the weight, so they got really strict about it. They didn't want him in there if he wasn't going to lose the weight. And eventually, it did get the better of him, and he passed on from it. Because even when he was at, the camp to try and lose the weight, he was still putting it on because people were sneaking food in for him, So, unfortunately, Yokozuna didn't have a very long career. It was a very memorable one, but would have been great if he had been able to last a little longer. But he was in there at the top right at the beginning, and of course, feuding on and off with Bret Hart. His feud with The Undertaker, of course, legendary, because that led to The Undertaker's first, rebirth, his redesign. And all great stuff, great stuff. It's hard to find, strange enough, hard to find a bad Yokozuna match. He was that good. May he rest in peace. Round 10 of the championship tournament against the Narcissus. Now, this is a WCW rematch here. Flair and Luger. This is the match that the TV execs at Turner Broadcasting wanted to be the title change over there. Flair dropping the belt to Luger. And they both wound up in WWF. Funny thing, I don't think they ever met. At this point, Flair was on his way out like Hogan, like Savage. And Luger was just on his way up and would also leave as well. So they'd meet back up in WCW. I don't know if they had a feud over there eventually. But it's interesting backstory to know that that's why Flair came here in the first place, because he didn't want to drop the belt to Luger. Wanted to drop it to Sting. He promised it to Sting. And, yeah. And that's how we wound up there. Of course, Luger wound up main eventing for a while. Him along with Yokozuna and Bret Hart. That three-way main event at WrestleMania 10. Good stuff. Slamming Yokozuna on the aircraft carrier. That was another super memorable event, right? Everybody saw that. And the Lex Express, going on tour with the bus. Figure 4 for the win, guys. No torture racket in this game. He just does the running forearm. The story with the Narcissist was that he had a metal implant in his forearm, so if he hit you with the running forearm, it'd knock you right out, and that was the end. That was the whole thing, like he's cheating with Bobby. The final round against the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. So, yeah. Good times, guys. Another, again, two greats. Ted DiBiase, I think, is a bit of an underestimated guy. Not only was he a top heel in WWF, but he actually had a long career as a face before that. I was surprised to learn, I watched the Netflix Hulk Hogan documentary, that Hogan's first match in the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, when they first brought him in, was against Ted DiBiase, who was a face at the time. He was on his way out, going to work the territory some more, and for his last match, he put over Hogan, who came in as a big giant, a fabulous Hulk Hogan a heel managed by classy Freddie Blassie. And yeah, young DiBiase put him over. So that's interesting to know. And around this time, of course, they'd renew their feud. This time reversed. Hogan's a good guy, and he was teaming with his old friend Brutus Beefcake, who was, of course, one of the Boulder brothers with Hogan. Back when they were Hulk Boulder, and I forget what. I think it was Ed Boulder or something. They were the Boulder brothers. But they reunited as the Mega Maniacs to take on Money Incorporated, which was Ted DiBiase and Erwin R. Scheisser. Both of their kids would be the WWF wrestlers, Ted DiBiase Jr. and, of course, the infamous Bray Wyatt, the son of IRS, Erwin R. Scheisser. And we did it. We won the world title, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. There's a bonus match for you coming. Until next time, this is Grim signing off, saying stay salty. There's your magazine cover. New World Heavyweight Champion, Ric Flair, the Nature Boy.
Things are absolutely perfect.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall. Making his way to the ring from Robbinsdale, Minnesota, weighing in at 257 pounds, Mr. Perfect!
A flawless technician, everything executed in the ring in textbook style.
Byron, I believe the word you are looking for is not flawless, it's not textbook, it's perfect.
One of the all-time greats.
Cole, some people spend their entire lives striving for greatness. Mr. Perfect just obtained greatness naturally.
Yeah!
And his opponent from Pembroke, North Carolina, weighing in at 250 pounds, Tatanka!
Tatanka burst into WWE on a nearly 2-year undefeated streak, but my favorite thing Tatanka ever did was betray the WWE Universe and join the $1 Million Corporation.
That was a low point, Corey. Don't remind us of that. It made me very sad.
This should be an incredible matchup. I mean, both men have extensive offensive repertoires, lasting endurance, and an insatiable appetite to be number one.
Settle in, guys. This is going to be a blast to watch. He's not in a good spot here, guys. He simply needs to find a way to regroup. Bad spot for him to be in here, guys.
He's got to do something to get back in this thing.
Oh, clothesline! Now the old vicious head crank. Look at the torque. Could have a stiff neck for a while. He's got him covered. That wasn't even close to 3. Nice kick out there. What a stomp. Good grief. Mr. Perfect feeling some pressure here.
He's still got plenty of gas left in his tank, though.
Hey, you're going to absorb some punishment in a wrestling match. It just goes along with the territory, and he knows that. I doubt he's all that concerned at this point.
Irish whip. Wicked clothesline. Boom!
Hellacious power slam.
Drop kick. Down he goes.
That'll do it every time.
Mr. Perfect looking a bit fatigued.
I'm not sure how much more he has to give.
Oh, man, his chances are dwindling quickly. He's just taken on so much punishment.
Yeah, he's clearly not on the right side of this match right now, which is a little surprising to me. Going for broke. He's definitely starting to lose it here.
He breaks out.
He's not done just yet, Michael.
From behind.
Oh, that'll do some serious damage. He's making a statement here with this attack. Look at this.
Slammed with authority.
Shoulders on the back. And there's a kick out at 2.
He's got some more fight in him, guys.
And Tatanka heads for the top rope.
He's not going to like this.
See if he takes the bait.
Looking at it here.
Ooh-wee. This one is over.
Tatanka is in position. Tatanka has done it.
No doubt it was a good one. Here's another look.
Almost forgot about this one. And here's a last look at this one.
Here is your winner, Tatanka!
Nicely done, picking up the win here.
Hey, they both gave it their all, but in the end, we were left with the best man standing.
No surprise there. That was exactly what we expected when the match was announced for SummerSlam. What an incredible effort all around.